Hey guys, this is Eric here with Josh. How you doing today, Josh?
Doing pretty good.
That's good to hear. Well, those of you watching, welcome to the Live the Movie Team weekly Google Hangout team meeting. And if you've never been on one of our calls before, we are a group that is focused on personal development, and we have the theme of Live the Movie, which is to live our lives, as if it's a movie, and we're the protagonists on our own stories. But we help each other to be able to achieve what they want. We each want in our lives and interact with each other and contribute, because ultimately what life's all about is to really grow and become more of yourself, so you have more to give and make the biggest difference that you possibly can. So that's what our group is really all about. There's a few main things that we do. I'll cover real quick, and then I'll actually let Mallory, who just jumped on, let her kind of take over, because she suggested the book for this month, which is one of the things I'll explain that we actually do in a second. So part of our group is all about accountability. It's how do you hold each other accountable to actually achieve the goals that we each want. So that helps us live our movie, because just like any good story-based movie, there are challenges. And in life, in real life, most people give up when those challenges happen, or they say, oh, that wasn't meant to be, or they kind of settle into life. But we want to help each other to push through those things. So there's a couple of things we do. Every 3 or 4 months or so, we get together as a group and have an in-person mastermind. And it's a lot of fun. It's a combination of learning, relearning things that we've learned, and also just having some fun and building, networking and talking as a team and just having a good time. We also have each picked goals for the 1 year period of time, and we are working on those each individually to do that. And then every week we have these calls, and what we do is we end up talking about different things, but the basis of each call has to do with each month we read a different book. And it has to be a book that's based in personal development. The actual topic could be something different. It could be spirituality, it could be finance, it could be relationships, it could be just personal development, success, any different topic. But it's based on what I mean by personal development. It means is based on the role that you play in succeeding in this area of your life. So we use that as a framework for our calls, and then we kind of go off in little tangents, but it's all to give us a topic and a different way of looking at things. Josh, Mallory, and I, since 2007, 2008, 2009, really started learning about personal development when we each worked for a sales and marketing company. And ever since then, we've been continue to grow and develop. And one of the things that happens is if you hear the same thing, the repetition is good, but sometimes it's good to hear the same principles from a slightly different perspective, but then also have it being discussed with different people so you get their perspective too. So it's great that we were able to do that as well. And for this month, Mallory actually picked the topic in the book, which is Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy is one of the best personal development teachers, leadership teachers. He's also big in the sales world. And I actually got an opportunity to write a chapter in the book that was put together by Brian Tracy and his company, and Mallory actually edited that chapter that I submitted to that book, which is pretty cool. So there's some connections to Brian Tracy there as well, and he's definitely someone I look up to as a mentor and follow. And a lot of his books, the principles are very simple, but most people don't follow through on them, and that's what it's really all about. So that's what I have just to kick it off. Mal, if you got some stuff about what you've read so far, some topics in there that you want to discuss, take it away.
I'm gonna get you your toy box.
I don't think at least I can't hear you, Mel.
Yeah, I can't hear you on my end either.
Logan can't hear you either. All right, so Mal jumped off for a second, because sometimes when you restart these programs, if your computer's been up and running, sometimes it doesn't go. I know sometimes when I turn on Google Hangout, Sometimes my camera won't be working, so I have to restart my computer and then it shows up. But she'll be back in a few seconds here. Hopefully the voice will be back.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yay! So what I was saying, oh gosh, I had such a good intro too.
Just like the story I told you the other day.
I was just thinking that you had this really great call with somebody and the call dropped and you have no idea if you even heard any of it, which is so funny. But I was saying what I love about Brian Tracy and his writing style is that his topics are usually really simple. So anybody can really pick it up and start diving in and start implementing some of his topics right away. Hi, Logan. He's so cute. But what I love about it too is that he's just really straightforward and blunt. Like I was reading the first part of the book, Eat That Frog, and basically it's 21 great ways to stop procrastinating, which I'm totally guilty of, and get more done in less time. So one of the things, he basically just lays it out, like if you want to get something out of this book, you have to just take action. It's as simple as that. Like you can learn as much as you want, but if you don't actually, implement it or put into action the things that you learn, you're not really going to get any results. So, and then Eric had mentioned too, the different perspectives that we get to read about personal development is fantastic because, and we get to hold each other accountable to implement those things. So this weekly call isn't just hey, let's get together and chat. Josh had some great exercises that we did during his calls last month, and I plan to have some exercises for us in the coming month as well, just to be able to really utilize what we're reading and get the most out of it. Because, the goal of this call is not just to say hi and be on our way. It's to actually learn something, and maybe you learn something new, maybe you learn something in a different way so it sticks better, and just to really use the things that we learn to apply to our everyday life. So whether it's with your work, or whether it's in your personal life, or with your health, or spirituality, or anything like that, you can really apply these subjects to any area, which is so fantastic. So I love the accountability that this type of group offers. And one of the quotes that is actually Brian Tracy quotes Galileo in his book. And the quote is, "You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself." And Eric's mantra or tagline or whatever, besides live the movie, is that you are always the answer. And it's funny because we always talk about these things. We talk about very similar things over and over and over again. And for me, when I heard that quote by Galileo, I was like, that's just what Eric is saying in a little bit longer, of an explanation. And when Eric says you are always the answer, what that means is that you already have all the tools that you need inside of you to succeed at the highest level that you can potentially succeed at. All you have to do is just believe in yourself, have the right mindset, and just take action. And it's really as simple as that, because you can rely on somebody else for success or wish you had qualities that somebody else had, but wishing you have other qualities is not going to help you gain those other qualities. So if somebody that is really good at something that you want to be good at, the best thing for you to do is learn from them and implement the exact things that they do. One of the things that in the first part of this book that Brian Tracy talks about is learning from successful people. So part of Brian's story that is he became he went into the sales industry, I guess you could say, at a pretty young age, like early 20s. And at first he was grinding away and not getting great results. And at one point he finally took a step back and was like, wait a second, there are countless other people doing the same thing I'm doing the same job that I'm doing, and getting great results. What am I missing? So he ended up reaching out to a couple of the other people who are really succeeding at a high level. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just to reach out to somebody who's already succeeded at something that you want to succeed at. and he ended up climbing the corporate ladder in that sales company really quickly, and he was, one of the top executives in the company within years, and at a really young age too, which is so cool. So what I love that he has done in this book too is just the fact that, he doesn't just list out these 21 ways of helping you to eat that frog, which is the analogy that he uses, which is basically getting the hardest thing, hardest to do of your day done first. He's done it. These are the principles that he lives by. And, same thing with the book that Eric wrote and I helped edit with the 8 mandates of personal leadership. But, those aren't 8 mandates that Eric just kind of made up because they sounded good or whatever. They're things that he learned from, that he had implemented in his life previously, that he wanted to share. So, and there are tons of authors out there like that. So Brian Tracy's a great one. He has some really great books, but Eat That Frog is one of the quicker reads, which is why I wanted to choose it for our monthly book. The first quote that is actually by Brian Tracy, not Galileo, in the book that I highlighted is, let's see, success is predictable. Okay, so I already talked about this a little bit with Brian Tracy asking some other people in the sales company what they were doing well and just implementing what they did, because all you really have to do is look at the clues that success leaves behind, because success does leave clues, and just start utilizing those techniques that other people have already implemented and just doing it that way. So he says, simply put, some people are doing better than others because they do things differently and they do the right things right. So a lot of times, if you're in any situation, you might think, oh, they're succeeding because of this, this, and this. And what that does is a negative effect on you is it kind of blocks you from seeing the potential that you personally have, because you think they're either doing something advanced or they have different resources than you, and you're just kind of putting that wall up that separates you from this person who's succeeding to the results that you're personally getting. So I think it's really cool that when you really do have to take a step back and say, okay, this person is doing this, they're succeeding at a high level. It could be with work, it could be in a relationship like a marriage, it could be, as a parent, it could be, in their workout routine. And it's not, they're not really anybody special. I'm not saying that everyone's not special, but they're probably not doing anything special in their life. They're just doing the right things the right way. So if you want to, for example, lose weight or get in shape or just be physically fit, sitting on the couch eating potato chips is not the right thing. So, and that's an obvious one, but sometimes we can tend to overcomplicate things in life and think that we need some special magical power to be able to accomplish something, when in reality, you just need to stay disciplined and take the action that's necessary to achieve it. So that was kind of a cool concept. It's such a simple concept right away that he shares in the first couple of pages, which I love. The next thing that I highlighted here is, oh yeah, this is really cool too. The ability to concentrate single-mindedly on your most important task, to do it well, and to finish it completely. So this goes back to the discipline that I talked about, because sometimes that's all it really takes is just consistent action. That's all it takes. Is the key to great success, achievement, respect, status, and happiness in life. A lot of these books talk about, happiness and fulfillment. The last book that we literally read had happiness in the title. So whatever your definition of happiness is, it's, everybody's different. Everybody has their own, lifestyle that they are striving for. And the thing that makes us all the same is that we really do all just want to be happy. We want to have a smile on our face when we wake up in the morning and feel good about our day when we go to bed at night. And, sometimes we get caught up in the daily activities that we do. You know, they might seem mundane, that we kind of lose that sense of fulfillment and happiness along the way somehow. And then we stop and we freak out and we're like, wait, I was happy when I was doing this. How come I'm not happy anymore? Maybe I have to do something else. So, but in reality, you just kind of have to take a step back, and it has a lot to do with, you know, being present in the moment, and really making sure that you're aware of what makes you happy, and that you do something that makes you happy every single day. I know I work from 9 to 6 as in an admin department for a temp agency, and it doesn't seem very exciting on paper, but you know, I go into work and I have a blast, because why would I want to go into work and be miserable all day? So I think at some point when you do something that you don't necessarily want to do, you do have to have that happiness, that, you know, that you have to choose happiness for that day, and choose that you're going to be grateful for what you have. And you know, showing gratitude always brings more blessings into your life too. But I'm getting way off on a tangent, but it's all good stuff that I'm getting from this book so far, and I haven't even read the introduction yet. This is just before the introduction. So, and this is cool. When I was talking about Brian Tracy being really blunt and straightforward, he says every idea in this book is focused on increasing your overall levels of productivity, performance, and output, and on making you more valuable in whatever you do. You can apply many of these ideas in your personal life as well. So he's basically just laying it out, like, if you want to succeed at a high level in any area of life, just implement these things. It's really that simple. You don't have to overcomplicate it. I just threw a lot at you guys. Do you guys have any thoughts about anything that I've talked about so far that you want to jump in about and talk about?
One of the things that you were talking about, you know, just to succeed is pretty simple. Duplicate what someone else is doing. I feel like one of the interesting things, especially with all of us having the background in sales, is that sometimes people try to duplicate the wrong aspects of what someone who's succeeding is doing. So I'll give you an example. You know, all three of us worked for the same sales company. Meg, my wife, still works for that sales company, but in a different type of role. And the person in that side of the business that is the top salesperson, he really doesn't do anything right from the standpoint of, like, you know, so it's a position where they sell the products at a booth, and you're supposed to have the display a certain way, and you're supposed to dress a certain way in the store, and you're supposed to clean things up, and you're, you know, all the like, I don't want to use, I'm trying to think of the right word, but all like the organizational stuff, he does it all wrong, just completely wrong. But he's this top salesperson by far. So one of the problems is that without giving a clear direction, if someone were to watch him do the sales, they'd say, well, this is what he does, so that's what I'm going to do. When in reality, that has nothing to do with it. If you actually watch him, it's really simple. He actually doesn't even follow the script that they're supposed to follow. All he does is waits till people come over to the booth. He builds rapport for a second, and then he asks a bunch of really specific questions so that he's 100% sure of what the people want. And then when they're very clear on what it is that they say that they do, because it's a kitchen product, he then hard sells them on buying what they said that they already want. That's all he does. So it's, you know, it's like this complicated, you know, you come up with all these complicated things, or you think, oh, he doesn't follow the program, therefore not following the program is how to succeed. When in reality, he does follow the program, and all this other stuff is just weird quirks of how he acts. So that's just something interesting, that sometimes when it is simple to succeed and you follow someone to succeed in that area, but sometimes we adopt the, not the bad habits, but the stuff that really doesn't matter that they do, and forget to pay attention to what is it they actually do that's making that the difference, help them succeed.
That's such a good point, because you know, if you don't actually talk directly to a person and you just kind of look at what they do and try to mimic it, that might go, you know, be a way to, you know, take a backward step. But like you said, he was following the program and doing the things that the program did, but he just wasn't, he was doing it in his own way and had these quirks that just stood out as different. So people thought, you know, I was actually trained by him, and when I actually learned the real program, I was like, oh, it's so much more simple than he was making it out to be. So it's kind of funny. He was still taking the actions that, you know, got him great results. But he could, you know, I even look back and I'm like, he could have gotten even better results if he had just stuck to the program that was outlined by a lot of the other leaders in the company. So it's kind of funny when you look at it like that. Josh, anything that you can think of that you want to add, or questions, or anything that you want to add to what I've said so far?
Really, I think it's just a matter of the whole thing that you talked about with getting the harding done first. I think, you know, it can be really helpful, obviously. But I always think that as long as you do something productive at the beginning of your day, things are going to go better for you no matter what. Whether you'll get more stuff done if you do something productive when you start. So
yeah, that's an awesome segue about what I was going to refer to next, just talking about what it means to eat the frog. You sound a little bit under the weather, man. That's too bad. As he blows his nose. But the one of the topics in the introduction here is just it's titled "The Truth About Frogs," and what he says is basically your frog in your day is your biggest and most important task, and it's the one that you're most likely to procrastinate on if you don't do something about it right away. And it's funny because, you know, we've talked in this group about the mind not being able to tell the difference between doing something and thinking about doing something. And if our frog task for the day just sits on our to-do list and we're thinking about it all day while we're doing these other tasks, it can cause us to take a lot longer to do other tasks. It can cause us to sit and think about doing that big frog task that we just don't want to do. But the idea of eating the frog comes from Brian Tracy's concept of, like, if you ate this big, ugly, brown, live frog, like living frog, if you had to do that in the beginning of every day and you just got it out of the way, there was nothing in that day that could be worse than that, and you'd crush it. So that's the kind of concept that he came up with about eating a frog in particular. But the first rule of frog eating, he says, is this: if you have to eat 2 frogs, eat the ugliest one first. So if you have 2 major tasks for a day that you have to accomplish, you just want to do the hardest one, like the most daunting one that seems like it's going to take you either a long time, or it's just going to take up a lot of your energy. Because once you get that done, like, that feeling of accomplishment is indescribable. It's, you know, one of the big things that I do when I get to work every morning is three reports. And they're pretty daunting reports, but if I can get them done within that first hour of my day when I get to work, I just, like, cruise through the rest of the day. Like, nothing else can get in my way to having a successful day. So that's kind of the concept that of eating the frog. And then the second rule of frog eating is, if you have to eat a live frog at all, it doesn't pay to just sit and look at it for very long. So doing it quickly instead of sitting and contemplating it is going to benefit you too. Eric, do you have something to add? I saw you unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think one of the other big things is that, you know, if you think about the fact that, you know, most people work during the middle of, you know, the main part of the day, you know, if you leave your difficult task to later on in the day, it becomes very difficult because your motivation, usually your energy level, it doesn't always go down as the day goes along. But think of it this way, right? Like, you have been working all day, so you've been doing stuff. You might have not done your frog task yet, but you've been doing stuff all day, and that, you know, takes energy out of you and takes your focus and whatever. And then if you come to the end of the day and say you have to do the thing that is the most difficult with the least amount of energy, with the most energy already expelled, that can be very difficult. Whereas you know, if you wake up and you eat breakfast and you shower and you get ready for your day and you show up and you don't, like you said, you don't look at the frog too long, you don't even think about it, you just do it. Now all of a sudden that task actually boosts your energy because it's out of the way, it's early, and then you can go on and do the rest of your stuff. And you also can feel good about yourself. It boosts your self-esteem to do that because you know that you said you were going to do something and you did it, and it was the hardest thing you had to do. And like Josh said, you know, doing something early sets the tone for the day. So if it could be that big thing, that's even better.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And your mind is also the most fresh in the morning. I find that when I'm doing something in the morning, when I get to work, for example, we have to enter these files into our system. And as I'm typing these files, I just notice that I'm so much faster in the morning. And I almost like take twice as long when it gets to be like 5:30, and I try to do the same exact task. But it just takes twice as long because I'm just tired from the day. I've done so much other work already throughout the day, and my mind isn't well rested anymore. You know, in the morning, it's just that's the peak time where your mind is the sharpest because you've had that good night's sleep. Hopefully, you've had the good night's sleep. And you know, I've been going for walks in the morning, which has been really helpful to kind of boost my energy for the remaining hours of the day as well. But it's just so important to just take action right away and not, you know, when you think too much about it and you keep putting it off, it just drains so much of your energy, so much more of your energy than necessary just to do that simple task, as daunting as it may seem. I'm almost done with the introduction so far. I'm going to read a lot more of it this week, but do you guys have the book yet?
I have it.
Okay. I don't know if Josh, you have it or not, but it's pretty cool. I mean, you could order it online. Maybe you could even get it from a library, a local library to what do you do at a library with books? Rent them? I don't even know.
Borrow them.
You eat them.
Yeah, I just ordered it, so
Okay, cool.
I will get next week or so.
Awesome. I don't know why I just forgot what you do in a library with books. Check them out, I guess. I don't know. But
Yeah.
but I'm really excited about it because I feel like, you know, once we get into the actionable steps, we'll be able to kind of utilize the time on these calls to review like what went well for the week for us. Because any really good personal development book will have action steps at the end of the chapters, and they're not hard action steps. They're actually really easy most of the time. Maybe easy isn't the right word. They're usually really simple because if they were easy, you know, if they were easy, everyone would do it. But they're simple tasks. But a lot of times, if you're reading a book on your own, you tend to put off those action steps because there is no real accountability that's coming from other people or anything that will help you kind of implement those action steps. So my goal in this month is just to really dive into the action steps from this book and just see where it takes us. I'm excited to just, you know, learn from what you guys have done because another cool thing about having a group like this, besides the accountability of reading and taking action, is the fact that my perspective or point of view about what to do to take action on a specific step is completely different than what Josh or Eric would do. So it's really cool to get the collaborative, I don't know the word I'm looking for, the collaborativeness, just the different ways that people implement different things, even if it's the same action step. So it's kind of cool to get new ideas in that regard. That's about all I have for tonight. I know it's a really short call for a Tuesday night, but do either of you have anything that you want to add before I wrap it up?
I would say, you know, one of the things that I read in the first couple of chapters is we've all heard the concept of the 80-20 rule, which is Really, 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions, or 20% of the activities that you're doing. And one of the things that Brian talks about, and you guys will read it this week, is that he talks about doing the 80-20 rule to everything and then within everything. So trying to figure that out. And just an interesting example, and you guys what we can do is kind of end off with this topic, and you guys will read it this week, but then you also can think about it as you go through your day and your work and all that stuff. So where I work, we do wealth management and taxes, and it's tax season. And so there's a lot of stuff to do, and everybody's really busy. So sometimes people, including myself, get overwhelmed when you have a ton of stuff to do and then you get something else to do. But the thing that many of us forget to do sometimes is to realize the difference between what's urgent and what's important. So someone says, I already have I'm already up to capacity amount of stuff that I can do, and someone just gave me one more thing. I can't do that right now. Not realizing that that one extra thing that they were given is something that needs to be done today, and the rest of it you want to be done because you'd love to have it off your list, but in reality, it could be done over a different period of time. So just paying attention to what's the difference between what are the things that are urgent and important, and what's really that 20% of things that get you that 80% of the results. And then even within those things, what are the 20% of the actions that get you 80% of the results. So I thought that would be a cool thing to think about as you guys go through your week, and then also end up reading it in the book this week.
Yeah, that's so good. I was thinking of I used to make a to-do list with 4 different sections, and I'm not sure what got me to veer away from this, but the 4 sections were important, and then the next section was urgent, which this is what made me think of it, and then so it was important, not urgent, urgent, not important, not urgent, not important, something that you want to do someday, and then urgent, not important. So the urgent, important tasks were the ones you got done right away, and then the other ones kind of fell into place that way. So that's such a good way to get us thinking about things throughout the week, Eric. Thank you for that. And it just actually, my book fell open to this page where I had underlined, it's on the very first page of the book, which is really cool. He says, there is never enough time to do everything you have to do. You're literally swamped with work, personal responsibilities, projects, stacks of magazines to read, piles of books you intend to get to one of these days, just as soon as you catch up or get caught up. And the beauty of life is you never get caught up. I feel like we all say things like, oh, well, when this settles down, then I'll start this. Or when I get to this point in life, that's when I'll have this. It's like, well, that's not a really good outlook to have, only because when is that time? Like, if it's not now, then when will it be? Because that when you have something keeps getting pushed further and further into the future until one day you're like, oh, I probably should have started a long time ago doing that thing that I intended to do when my life was together, quote unquote. So, Josh, do you have one last thing to add?
I did, and now I forget what I was going to say. So,
no worries. Your mind is probably stuffed with a head cold. So, I hope you feel better this week. Jeez, it sounds like you got a good one.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'll just wrap things up by saying that if you're watching this call and part of you is like, yeah, I've wanted to be a part of a group like this for a long time. I've been looking for some sort of accountability in my life, besides just the people that I spend time with on a day-to-day basis. But you haven't decided to really dive in and join something like this, I would say, why wait? Give it a shot, because we're all here to basically just help each other, learn from each other, and growth is the main goal that we have for each other. Because if you're not growing, you're dying is one of my favorite quotes, because if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards, because it's the whole law of energy. And if you got to be moving in some direction, and if it's not forward, it's going to be the opposite direction. So a group like this can really help you focus and hone in on what you really want to achieve in different areas of your life, and using the books that we read to create action steps for yourself is one of my favorite parts, because when it's funny because usually we hold these calls on a Monday. It happens to be Tuesday now, and I forgot to ask Josh how his concert was yesterday, but the cool thing is that when Monday rolls around, I'm excited about the call, and then Tuesday comes and I'm like, okay, you kind of let everything soak in. Then Wednesday and Thursday come and you're like, gosh, I really want to implement something so that I can share it with the group. And that's the kind of accountability that we provide. It's not, in your face, you got to do these things or you won't succeed. We all have different individual goals in our life. So it's just cool to be able to share ideas and learn and grow from each other. And, the goal is to live the movie, which is to be the main character of your life movie. So that's what I got for today. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. Hope you feel better, Josh. And
I'm sure I will.
We'll talk to you next Monday.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Live the movie.
Live the movie. See ya.